Well, welcome back. In this video, I want to introduce you to the concept of negations. Negations are a bit complicated, especially in terms of the translation aspect. So I'm going to, I think, spend most of my time on this video talking about the translation aspect, because negations are weird and they're kind of sneaky. They're not necessarily as obvious as some of the other connectives that we've talked about, ifs, thens, and ands. Those could be tricky as well. But here's why. Is even though negations themselves are compound or complex statements, they're not connecting one statement to another one. What they do is they modify some affirmative or positive statement, or at least they can. So what that means, if I want to say something like, today is Sunday. Now, if I say today is Sunday, this is a simple statement. Let's say it's for me today is not Sunday, so the veracity of the statement is kind of irrelevant for the purposes of demonstration. But let's say, how would I translate this? It would just be S. Now, if today is Sunday would be translated as S, how would I get not S? Or the contrary to that. Now you might be thinking, oh, you could say today is Monday. Well, today is Monday. This is the thing I want to get down with negation. I said today is Monday. And I did that. At least in propositional logic that we're doing. That would be just translated. That would not be translated not S. That would be translated as M. Well, it's the same thing as not S. No, it's not. Because today is not Sunday. Let's tuck this in here. If I did this phrase, today is not Sunday. And negations are connective language. That's the only thing that would get me not S. It's the contrary. We can say colloquially the opposite of. In logic, technically, an opposite is something distinct from this. So we can use it colloquially, but actually how we would typically say, a negative is the opposite of something. Here, let's say it's the contrary of something. So not S is the contrary to S. M is not the contrary to S. They're not opposites in that regard. But what are some other ways that I could say not S in English? I could say it's false that it's Sunday. It's not true that it's Sunday. It ain't Sunday. It isn't Sunday. It's Sunday. Not. Any of those could work as a not S. Now, furthermore, those are obvious, where I said it's false that, it's not true that, it's not the case that. These are all phrases which indicate a negation of a particular statement. But there's sneaky ways that we can stick not into a sentence. And again, the symbol for not is going to be this tilde, the squiggle just on the front of whatever statement is being modified. Sometimes it can modify a simple statement, sometimes it can modify a compound one. If it does so, it'll end up modifying the whole thing. That means you'll slap a parenthesis on and stick a negation on it. I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later. But for now, let me say, here's the other ways that we can sneak in a negation into a sentence. With prefixes, these prefixes, at least the ones that come to mind, these are the ones that come to mind at the moment. And they can all mean not. But they don't always mean not, which is part of the problem why they're so confusing. So, for example, and I think there's a good rule of thumb here how to figure out when it means not and when it doesn't. What are some words that start with A, where you have A on the beginning of a word that means not? I think un is the most obvious to us, so let's actually start with that one. So if I say, something went unnoticed, did it go noticed? It did not. So when I say something was unnoticed, I'm saying that it was not noticed. Now, on your quizzes and stuff, I'm going to italicize these prefixes when they mean not. and I won't do that when they don't. So I'm doing that to kind of assist you in recognizing these things. So un means not, except when it doesn't. So an instance where we could have the prefix un where it kind of means something similar to not, it's being used as a prefix, doesn't mean not quite exactly, as if I told you, for example, to untie your shoes. If I tell you to untie your shoes, I'm not telling you, do not tie your shoes. What I'm telling you in this particular instance is kind of do the opposite of tying your shoes. So there's a weird kind of way in which that prefix is being used there. So I want to worry about these things when they mean not. And the way you can figure that out is the opposite. If you covered the prefix, would it mean the opposite of that particular phrase? So in the case of unnoticed, unnoticed is definitely the opposite of noticed. Okay? Ones that start with A, usually those come with Greek, from Greek, something like an atheist. An atheist is someone who is not a theist, someone who does not believe in God. So there, if I wrote, atheist, here's the test for does the prefix mean not or not? Well, if you cover it, is that a word? And if that word is the opposite of whatever one that you have with the prefix on it, probably a good indicator that it means not there. That's not always true. For example, when we get to one like in, I could say a word like someone is insane. Now what does insane mean? It means not sane. Again, the test is this. I cover it, sane, insane, those are opposites. That would mean here that the prefix in here does in fact indicate a negation. But that's not always true. So for example, if I said, this person used their intuition, you might go, well, if you take off the in, tuition is totally a word. But is tuition the opposite of intuition? No, which means in this case, the I-N on the front does not mean not. Don't think about that too hard, okay? Im, so I could say, impolite, or that means not polite. I could say immediately, and that one does mean not. It means, there is no medium. It happens without anything happening in between. If I say someone is immature, it can mean that someone is not mature. So those are instances in which this can mean not. Let me go down to dis here for a moment. So if I say someone was disrespectful, that means that they were not respectful. On the other hand, if we're having a discussion, that does not mean we're not having a cushion. So be mindful of these prefixes on words that can mean not, but don't necessarily mean not. But that's not all either. We also have the suffix less in English, which also means not. So if I say something was worthless, it does not have any worth. I could also say there it has no worth. Sometimes we use no to indicate not as well. Not just a simple negative response, like, are you happy? No. But we can say anything with less, we can also substitute it with no. So I could say, something was hopeless. There was no hope, or we did not have any hope. Okay? In those instances, the suffix means not. Which brings me to this connective word that I'll talk about a little bit. Unless, look, it's entirely made up of a prefix and a suffix both meaning not. And you do something very particular with it when it comes to negations. That we'll talk about probably in the next video.